Chapter 18. Hunter and Tracker sprinted through the thick brush, avoiding the large pines. They surged down the trail leading to the parked truck hidden behind trees. The bikes were supported on the trailer by tie-downs. Hunter inspected the bikes. No one had been near them or the truck. When Hunter quickly unhitched them and they were setting on kickstands, he said, "This is mine and that one is yours." He pointed to the sleek black one for Tracker. "I know how you like black." Hunter reached under the back seat and came up with 2 helmets. He tossed one to Tracker. Tracker glanced down at it and smiled. "Now you have a helmet to go with your sleek leather jacket and those fancy tight leather pants." "But that doesn't make you a biker," Hunter said, laughing. "Have you seen a motorcycle like this before?" Tracker walked close, getting a better look and a feel for it, his eyes wavering from the Kawasaki to Hunter's. "It's a Ninja H2. Hunter smiled, nodding his head. Tracker sauntered around it, smiling. "If I have to kill myself, let me take the Ninja," Tracker said, walking up to Hunter's silver bike. Hunter shot him a turned-up smile. "Why can't I ride that one?" Tracker insisted, with an equal smile. He knew the answer, but still it didn't hurt to ask. "Because you're not ready, and this one's my baby," he said, caressing the fender and seat as if it was a woman and he was going to make love to her, but she needed a bit of foreplay before consummation. "It was made especially for me, and I don't want you falling with it and damaging it. When you're ready to handle a bad boy like this, then I'll give you the mechanic's number. You can start by spending some of that money you inherited from your grandfather. That is, before you get engaged, and that young girl of Robert's has you married before you have any fun, or have a woman suck your dick," Hunter said to Tracker. "I had it done once." "I know how it feels," Tracker said with a wide grin, as if remembering that moment. After Tracker unlocked the tie-downs, a smile crossed his face as he pulled his motorcycle down from the trailer with Hunter's help. He turned to Hunter with his eyebrows meeting, and a serious look in his eyes. "I'm not going to marry Robert's daughter. I'm not attracted to her." "Maybe she doesn't want to marry you," Hunter said, raising an eyebrow. "She's a beauty. Where are you going to find a war female that beautiful?" Hunter questioned, hitching his leg over and sitting on the seat, ready to take off. "I want a human-like mother. All the Samsa men have humans, I want one too." "That's once in a lifetime. If I could have found a war female, I would have jumped at the chance to marry her, but they were all sterile, at least all the ones my age. Now is your chance to get someone like us, half human and half shifter. That last one will make you a good wife. You take her." He climbed on the bike, kicked the kickstand up and started the motor. "I have a mate," Hunter said with a tightening of his throat. Composing himself, "Do you need any instructions?" Hunter nodded, referring to the bike. "I'm a quick study." "You have a lot of power between your legs. Don't let it get away from you." Tracker reached for his cock, smiling broadly. "I know, big brother." Hunter rolled his eyes and shook his head, laughing, and pulled away from Tracker. He didn't wait or look back, but Tracker didn't let him out of his sight, and caught up with him a mile outside of Samseville. Pulling off the highway, Hunter put the kickstand down, and took off his helmet, and reached inside his leather jacket for his cell. Tracker came to a sudden stop, hurriedly near, and taking off his helmet. "I think I was born to ride." Hunter chuckled at Tracker's words. "Don't get ahead of yourself. It takes years to master a bike like yours, and a lot of hours in the seat. When we get to San Francisco, I suggest you take lessons." "You didn't." "You're not me. Now do as I ask, little brother." With his phone to his ear, he placed a call. "Father, we didn't find Haley." "I told you he could have taken her anywhere. It's not unusual to move her from place to place. What is unusual is for him to stay in one place. That means he's not afraid of who comes for him, or he wants the female badly, which means that he will fight to the death to keep her. In any case, he's dangerous. I don't care, I'm going to look for her and bring her home for however long it takes. Tracker is staying with me. Be careful of that lion, and protect your brother. It's hard enough for your mother to endure what you've been through. We can't put her through more trauma, Wilder said. I called to tell you to have someone pick up the truck and trailer. It's not far from the interstate. That won't be a problem. It has OnStar. I can have someone from the police department get it. Be well, my son. Hunter looked at Tracker, who appeared to be fascinated with his new toy. Tracker looked up and saw Hunter getting ready to move on. He had on his helmet, and when Tracker observed to his right, Hunter was riding fast and hard down Interstate 80 going west. Tracker followed Hunter into a gas station not long afterwards. Must have forgotten about the gas. In any case, I don't want to need gas and not have it. Pay for the gas, I'll get water. Hunter strode inside, looking for the water. When he came outside, he saw Tracker surrounded by two young men. As he got closer, they weren't men at all but shifters, and they weren't any shifters, they were lion shifters. Well, look who we have here, they said, taunting Tracker. Tracker was too young, or too inexperienced to be afraid. In a matter of seconds, Hunter reached Tracker and came up from behind the gas pump and stood next to him. What do you want? If you want a war between us, then this is not the right place for it, because there are men in that building watching. We have survived long around here because they don't know we exist. So you decide what it will be. Me, I don't care. I'd just as soon end this now, Hunter said, his fangs shooting out, and Tracker watched and did the same. Their claws sprang out seconds later at the same time. All they needed was for the two lion cubs to make a move to shift, and that would be the end of them, and perhaps Hunter and Tracker would be hunted by the humans for killing two teenagers. When Hunter put in his bluff, he knew these were mere cubs. Just 1 month from nursing from their mother's tit, but they had the instincts and the stupidity to want to attack a grown werewolf. They should have known that he wasn't traveling alone, and not with two bikes sitting there. We're not looking for trouble, one twin said. No, not at all, especially since Hunter showed up. They didn't turn and walk back to their truck, but instead they faced Hunter and Tracker as they backed up, never letting them leave their sights. Hunter and Tracker watched as they got into their truck and tore off down the highway. Hunter knew they were getting close to Brian's compound because they were his sons, and they had an uncanny resemblance to the Lion Shifter. I can't leave you a second without attracting attention. Must be those tight leather pants that you claim are attracting the females. They must have caught sight of my large cock and wanted to measure theirs with mine, Tracker said, his mouth turning up on the side with amusement. Hunter removed the nozzle and pumped the gas into the tank. Tracker hunched his shoulders, shook his head, and smiled. They climbed on their bikes at the same time. Before placing on their helmets, I need a drink after this, Tracker said. He had not shown any fear, but he was decidedly shaken by the situations. Tracker didn't have any experience with the kind of things he might face. Hunter knew this too well, but he had to get used to this, because this was his future, and his life as a grown werewolf. A fight for control of a small area. A fight to keep their life a secret. A fight to prevent the lion shifters from taking over. A fight for a woman. This is against my better judgment, but I'll stop at the next bar. I guess you deserve one drink and we need some rest. Chapter 19. In a valley where homes sat alongside of hills and steep mountains, Tracker and Hunter cruised down Interstate 80 on their motorcycles, enjoying the remaining 100-mile ride to San Francisco. They had traveled this highway many times, going home for one emergency after another, since Hunter and Tracker had been living in San Francisco. But this was the first time they'd noticed a bar. Maybe it was because they had never thought about stopping, and maybe they'd never needed to stop for a drink, but out of nowhere, a flashing sign caught Tracker's attention. Tracker, leading now that he felt comfortable on his motorcycle, headed off the main road and parked his bike. Hunter spotted him, turned, and pulled up next to him. "I'm tired, Hunter. There's a hotel across from the bar. Let's stay the night." Exhaustion was never in Tracker's vocabulary, nor in his DNA, but for some reason he wanted to relax, and after days of grueling hunting for Haley, he deserved to unwind. Hunter didn't know why he agreed, but he did. It might have been because he too was tired and didn't realize it, nor wanted to admit it. His weariness had gotten him into trouble before, because he never knew when his strong body had quit on him. When that happened, he slept for days, and now he couldn't afford to make the mistake of not listening to his body. He had to be well rested for whatever was coming, because in a werewolf's life there was always something coming, and why should this time be different? They parked their bikes out front, then dismounted and stretched. Tracker broke into one of his patented smiles, wide and full of white polished teeth. "I was born for this kind of life. Being on the road and riding my motorcycle," Tracker said to Hunter. "What about Robert's daughter? Are you planning on riding with her on the back, or are you planning on buying her one?" Hunter said with a closed smile. "Neither. I told you how I felt about her," Tracker said, as he sauntered in the direction of the bar, looking handsome, tall, and dangerous. The place had a large parking lot, and it was littered with pickup trucks of all types. You have to be careful around humans. You never know when they have had too much to drink and will start a fight. Save your energy for the Lion Shifter. Keep your wits about you and don't drink too much, Hunter advised Tracker. All of what Hunter had said to Tracker was new about humans. The drinking he'd heard from his father, but did his best to ignore him. He didn't understand Hunter's advice about humans. He worked with them every day, and none had bothered him. It could have been because he ran Hunter's company. Hunter disclosed that they were werewolf shifters, and the employees couldn't discuss with any other humans what the SAMSs were. The humans agreed to sign a non-disclosure agreement. If they disclosed anything about the SAMSs, they would be out of a job, or worse, if they revealed who the SAMSs were. Because they didn't want to know what the worst would be, they respected the agreement, and behaved in a manner that suggested that Hunter and Tracker SAMSa were two ordinary businessmen who happened to be rich and eccentric. All Tracker wanted and desired that night was to get close to and smell a human female's body. The moon was full, and he wanted an excuse to talk and laugh with one. Maybe if he got lucky, he could take one to bed. Tracker had to warn them first, but he didn't know this. He'd never had sex with a woman or were female. He'd got a hold of a werepanther who had sucked his dick and scratched and bit the shit out of him, but it was never a real relationship. Now, the moon was dictating his needs and desires to enter a female. Hunter, preoccupied with his thoughts of Haley, had forgotten about the moon rapture. If he had remembered, he never would have agreed to go into the bar with Tracker. When the impossibly handsome men opened the doors, they stood a moment, their eyes surveying the room, searching for danger. All human eyes focused on them as they sauntered inside and up to the bar. Tracker's eyes searched the bar, and they laid on a beautiful blonde girl of 20 or 21. Hunter saw her too. He saw the look in Tracker's eyes, a look that only a young wolf couldn't conceal. Tracker wanted to fuck her, and no one could stop him except maybe Hunter. She turned to him, locking eyes with Tracker. The woman's eyes were blue as his were green, blue as Hunter's. She was mesmerized to see these two handsome statuesque men dressed all in leather, with a full head of tousled thick dark hair, Hunter's hair straight, Tracker with short curly hair, their shoulders wide, looking powerful with broad muscular chests. Tracker stepped forward smiling. He was beginning to learn his appeal for attracting females to him, and he appeared eager to test his limits. He didn't care that she was sitting with a group which consisted of 2 women and 3 men, but Hunter cared. He saw the jealousy and fear in the men's eyes. Fear that they could lose their girls to the 2 impossibly handsome men. Hunter and Tracker took a seat at the bar, and Tracker gazed around. Then, the women in the bar began behaving unexpectedly. One after another they pranced up to the bar, and leaned over to show their ample butts, breasts, or throw their hair around in a teasing manner, with Tracker salivating at the sight. After all, it was a full moon, and humans were controlled by the moon, especially females. Tracker, never knowing the behavior of human females, smiled and offered them a drink. All the while Hunter sat gazing at him. Tracker was just being himself, a werewolf becoming a yearling and eager to mate. "You need to finish your drink and we need to leave," Hunter said, after they ordered 2 beers from the owner of the bar, a red-headed Irish type. "Do you live around here?" When the bartender asked the question, he knew the answer. Hunter shook his head no, and placed the price of the 2 beers and a tip on the bar. When he looked to the right of Tracker, Tracker was in a deep conversation with the pretty blonde with the blue eyes and stunning figure, the kind of figure humans would kill over, her breasts large, her waist small, her ass full, round, and hard. All Hunter saw was the back of Tracker, and the face of the girl. Tracker whispered in her ear, and she immediately left, returning to her group sitting at the table in the corner to Hunter's right. A blonde-haired scruffy guy of 21 with dangerous dark eyes caught Hunter's glance. Then the blonde-haired scruffy guy turned his frustrations to the beautiful blonde girl, who blew smoke in his face. "What are you doing?" Hunter questioned Tracker. "I gave her my number, and told her when she was free of her boyfriend to call me." Hunter didn't think it would be soon. He thought it would be sometime in the future, otherwise he never would have gotten a room at the hotel across the way. "You said you needed some rest, and now is the time to leave before we can't and someone gets hurt in here. I have to find Haley, remember. Besides, you will never see that female again, so why waste your time?" Hunter and Tracker were watched as they stood and looked around, with Tracker still with his eyes on the girl and her staring him down. Hunter had to hit him on the shoulder to get him to move. Tracker did, albeit reluctantly. When they were outside, Tracker said, "You know she wants to fuck me." "I don't care what she wants. I'm getting 2 rooms for the night, and I want you up early before dawn." Tracker shrugged. He had plans of his own. He looked at the moon, and his rapture came over him. After riding their motorcycles across to the hotel, Hunter got the room and gave Tracker his key. "You know you should have gotten double beds," Tracker said. "I don't fancy sleeping in the same room with an out-of-control young pup who wants to fuck everything that moves," Hunter said, shaking his head. "Well, you don't have to worry about me. You're not my type." "A man?" "No. A werewolf," Tracker said. "When I want to have sex, it will be with a human female." "I hope you have better sense," Hunter said, stopping at Tracker's door and watching him go in and close the door. Hunter opened the door to his room and dropped his key. He didn't feel like taking a shower as it would wake him, and he needed to sleep. When he woke, it was because he heard a loud bang. He knew that sound because it was the sound of a gun. There was one thing that werewolves feared, and it was a gun. They could deal with anything else but a gun. Only humans used guns to settle things. He thought of what Wilder had said about his grandfather and a gun. Hunter sat up like a rocket and then jumped to his feet. Pulling his t-shirt over his head and slipping into his leather jeans was taking too long. He dashed out of the door in bare feet and banged on the door of Tracker's room, but there was no answer. He thought he would cause too much attention if he broke the door down. It might have been difficult, but it could be done. He had the strength. Instead, he checked the doorknob first, and the door opened. Lying on the bed was Tracker. He had been shot, and blood was everywhere. Hunter rushed to him, remembering what his father had said, "Watch your brother and don't let anything happen to him. Your mother can't take the trauma of losing a son." "Tracker, what happened?" He put one knee on the bed. Tracker was lying face up with his eyes closed tight and his mouth shut. There wasn't any movement. Hunter turned him over and blood came seeping from a wound to his back. Hunter reached for the phone on the bedside table and quickly punched in the numbers. "Robert. I need you to come quick. I'm still in bed with Mina. I had to work at the hospital last night. I've been doing a double shift. You have to come. It's Tracker. You know my brother, the one that's engaged to your younger daughter, Sadia. I know who you're talking about. What happened to him? Put his dick where he shouldn't have, I'm sure. Robert, just tell me if you can come." "Of course I'll be there, but only because my baby girl is in love with him. I don't know why, but she wants him and no one else. She had her choice of your brothers, but she chose him." Robert's voice trailed off as he rushed to dress. Hunter hung up the phone after giving Robert the directions to the hotel, then followed Robert's instructions by keeping Tracker warm and using a tourniquet across his chest to stop the bleeding. Hunter reached for a sheet and tore it with his hands into strips and tied it around Tracker's chest as tight as he could and lay him on his side. Tracker slowly opened his eyes. "What happened?" "Someone shot you." "Now I remember. You know that pretty girl in the bar? She came to my room." Tracker smiled, as if remembering and forgetting what had just happened to him, that may have cost his life. Then he furrowed his brow when the realization came that someone shot him, and he could feel an intense burning from the bullet. "When I gave her my number, I didn't expect her to call me." "What did you expect her to do?" "I saw the way you two were looking at each other, and obviously her boyfriend did too. Somehow he followed her and well, he didn't like what he saw. I had her bent over and, you know. But he didn't come in during that, but when I was standing in front of the bed, ready to send her home. She went to her knees and said she had never felt a cock like mine or seen one as large as it. She said she wanted to see if it would fit into her mouth." "And did it?" Hunter questioned, shaking his head and rolling his eyes. "Yeah, with some to spare. That was the first time I had a female with a throat that opened up like that. I was ready to come when her boyfriend charged through the door, carrying a gun." "Did you not think about locking the door?" "Obviously not. How did you get shot from behind?" "I turned and reached for my pants. I didn't want to shift, because she was in the way, and 2 people would witness it. I thought it was better to reason with him with pants on," Tracker said, panting for breath. His eyes rolled back in his head, and he lay on his back and didn't move. Hunter checked his breathing. He still had life, but he had lost a lot of blood. Hunter paced the room, waiting for Robert. It was an hour later when Robert came through the door. "Lock the door for heaven's sake, Hunter." Robert looked past Hunter and walked to the bed. "I'm not going to ask you what happened, because I see a pair of red panties, and I don't think either of you are into that sort of thing, so I would have to conclude that Tracker was fucking a human, and her man shot him," he said, pushing Hunter to the side and examining Tracker. "I have to get this bullet out. He will be okay, but you will have to stay with him for a day." Hunter looked up at Robert. "You can't move him, and he can't ride a motorcycle, and I can't let you have my car. I have to get back to the hospital, and my family." "If he had been a human, he would be dead now," Robert concluded.